Welcome everybody to today's edition of the Critics Corner. I'm Andrew Branca with the Waxahachie Sun, and I'm here with my friend, colleague, and fellow movie lover, Mr. David Dunn with Southwest Style Magazine. And we are here to talk about the latest addition into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, featuring a superhero that most people really like. We are going to be talking about Black Widow today.
You don't know everything about me. I've lived a lot of lives. Before I was an Avenger. Before I got this family. I made mistakes choosing between what the world wants you to be and who you are. We have to go back to where it all started.
Where did you think I was all this time?
We have unfinished business.
My girls are the toughest girls in the world.
I'm sorry. We had our orders and we played our roles.
It wasn't real.
It was real to me. To me, you were everything.
Bring her home.
Put your seatbelts on. She's such a mom.
One thing's for sure. I'm done running from my past.
So Black Widow is Natasha Romanoff's solo movie. Finally, we've been begging for this thing since Captain America, the Winter Soldier in 2014. And here we are 6 years later getting it. So thank you, Marvel, for finally getting us the Black Widow movie. This is the first movie as part of MCU's Phase 4 after Avengers Endgame. It should have been part of Marvel's Phase 3 for obvious reasons. For those of you that have seen Endgame, you know what happens to Natasha. So chronologically speaking, this movie takes place after Captain America Civil War and before Avengers Infinity War, and it features everyone's favorite spy on the run from the government, kind of looking back at her past with the Red Room. Some old figures that have kind of haunted her in the past have come back to kind of plague her. She reunites with some of her old colleagues. And yeah, by and large, this is a Black Widow movie. This is a Black Widow. Andy, I don't know about you. I've been wanting a Black Widow movie for a minute. Ever since I saw her in Avengers, seeing kind of the duality in her character, especially with how well Scarlett Johansson plays her, you can tell this is a very layered, a very interesting character. And she has the potential to carry a movie by herself. And for the most part, this movie does. The action scenes are very straightforward. They're very exciting and engaging, as like other Marvel movies are. The performances are incredible. Scarlett Johansson, as always, shines as Black Widow. And the direction of the movie is very, very brutal, very, very unflinching, very quick-paced, quick-edited. The action in this movie feels like it belongs in like an Atomic Blonde movie, because it's just so high octane and fast paced and just adrenaline rushed. When it comes to the fight choreography and the visual effects and all that, this movie delivers a lot of what I wanted to see in a Black Widow movie, which is some really high octane espionage action, kind of on par with the Jason Bourne movies a little bit.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. To me, I I was a little disappointed with it. I thought it was more kind of an afterthought by the studios. It was felt more of like kind of a obligation that they had to make a movie because they made a promise to fans and that sort of thing. I thought a lot of the writing was really kind of stilton, in my opinion, in this movie,
Really?
and I've gotten a lot of backlash from a number of people telling me how wrong I am, and that's their opinion, and that's fine. And we'll agree to disagree, and that's why we're here. Um,
Well, yeah.
but
Well, you got to remember, Marvel fans, Andy, they're almost as toxic as DC fans. You say one negative thing about Ant-Man or Captain Marvel or any of those, and they'll be like, "Why do you hate Marvel movies?" So
yeah, very much rage-filled conversations. It's like arguing with somebody on the internet. You're not going to win.
pretty much always, yeah.
But
What? How did you find the writing to be stilted? What about it did you not like? Kind of pulled you out of it?
I don't know. It just felt like the actors in the movie were like, "Yeah, we have to be here. We're not really excited about this movie." It just there just didn't seem to be any energy really in the movie in a lot of scenes. I'm not talking about action scenes where they're battling uh their nemesis or henchmen or whatever. But there just doesn't they just didn't really seem to be really interested in doing a movie. It just felt kind of bland, kind of like oatmeal a little bit to me. I mean, the person I liked a lot, and I thought he was uh, funny, and I thought he helped the movie was David Harbour, who played Alexia or Red Guardian, basically the Soviet Union version of Captain America. I thought he had some very funny scenes in there, especially when he's in prison, arm wrestling people, bragging about his prowess against Captain America, and one of the other prisoners brings into question, well, weren't you in jail when Captain America was fighting, saving the planet or whatever? And
Yeah.
he basically breaks his arm, which I find very funny. But there was moments like that with him that I thought that was very funny, that made the movie maybe a little bit better. But overall, I mean, to me, it was a very forgettable movie.
Did the Captain of America ever mention me in the conversation? Yes, okay. A lot to unpack there. One, I agree with you. Yeah, I love David Harbour in this movie. I thought I always loved David Harbour. I didn't know how he would play Red Guardian because I know the Red Guardian from the comics. This character is much more oafish than his comic book iteration is, but I thought it worked very, very well for the movie. I like him as kind of this bumbling father figure that wants to be there for these two girls he helped kind of raise, but he's Russian, so he's not really good at expressing himself. I liked him a lot. I already mentioned Scarlett Johansson. I liked her. I really, really liked Florence Pugh. I think her and Natasha's dynamic in this movie really is kind of the thing, the glue holding the whole thing together. And if this movie if this movie was made solely to pass the baton on from Natasha to Yelena, I think this movie did that very, very well. Florence Pugh is really good in this movie. She's good in a lot of movies she's done. I am very, very excited to see more of her in the future. Now, going back to quite a few things you pointed out just now. You pointed out the writing, you pointed out the energy, you pointed out the acting. I disagree on all of that.
Okay.
Here's what I will say is Black Widow, this movie feels like it was released way, way, way too late.
Yes, and I would agree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that's one of my big pet peeves about this movie is that
Yeah.
like I said, it felt like an obligation that the studio they had to make something to appease fans, and knowing the ending of the Avengers with Endgame and everything, it just felt like too little, too late, almost. You know.
Yeah, it was completely released at the wrong time. If you had released this movie right after Captain America: Civil War, before Infinity War came out, before Captain Marvel came out, before Endgame came out, a lot more of the action, a lot more of the drama, everything in this movie would feel a lot more potent. But the reason, for the simple fact that you know what happens in those movies, and you compare and contrast to this movie, it does kind of rob a lot of the movie of the excitement you could have experienced. You know, a really great thing about Captain America: Civil War is you didn't know what was going to happen to the characters. You didn't know if anyone was going to die. You didn't know if someone was going to be crippled. You didn't know that. Same thing with Avengers: Infinity War. You didn't know how many casualties there would be, and there ended up being a lot more than we were expecting. And then Endgame, same thing. The twists and turns that happened in there. Black Widow, I don't want to say it feels like an obligation from the studio, because the truth is fans have been clamoring for this for a very long time, but they should have made Black Widow a higher priority earlier in their slate of movies, and definitely with more urgency. Releasing it now is like, oh, yeah, you Black Widow fans that really wanted a movie, we know we did you dirty in Endgame, but here you go. You can check out what happened in between these movies. Like, you should have released this after Civil War. But now, that being said, I think this movie and the point it was making, and the real world issues it was touching upon, I don't want to get too much into spoiler territory, but on the issues that relates to Natasha, Yelena, all these other female spies in the Red Room, how the content in this movie applies to real world issues going on outside of the movie theater. I thought that was done very well. That was very engaging. That was very interesting. That made me think about, oh, this is what this movie's trying to say regarding this subject matter. I'll say this, at least, just to make a comparison point. Black Widow clearly has a social message, and Captain Marvel has a social message. A lot of Marvel movies have social messages, but at the very least, I feel like Black Widow's felt more integrated and it made more sense than Captain Marvel's did. Captain Marvel's felt like it was trying to fill out a checklist on the SJW checklist. Black Widow felt like it was trying to make a very meaningful and interesting point on an issue that touches several people in the world today.
Yeah, I get that. I guess largely my disappointment with the movie is, I guess, it does stem to when it's been released. And, you know, you go to the movie, you have that expectation of some magic being in the box and some excitement going along with that, and anticipation. And, you know, for me, that's a big part of going to a movie not knowing what's going to happen. You know,
Yeah.
I guess that kind of wrecked it for me in a way. I mean, I guess that's why I felt like maybe it was a little stilton in the acting, the energy in the movie. It wasn't a horrible film. It was good, but not great. I just think there could have been maybe a little bit more done to make it a little bit better, I guess.
I want to touch on that for a second, but I will say the worst thing about this movie is easily when it was released. Easily. And this isn't even the first time Marvel has done this. They've also done this with Captain Marvel, which I don't know, when you're progressing through a story, why you go back in time for something when you're interested in carrying the present story forward. So I agree. That's a stupid thing Marvel does. They need to stop doing that. Now, as far as what improvements you think the movie should have been made, I'm very curious what your thoughts are on there, because I thought the acting was very well done. I thought the action was very fast-paced and exciting, despite knowing what was going to happen. The screenplay, the script, I thought was very clever, and even the main villain. I know there was a lot of chatter online about how Taskmaster was done in this movie and how they were portrayed. For me, I wasn't as upset at them because their story related very closely and impacted Natasha's story, of which we're very familiar with now after the previous Avengers movies.
Mhm.
So I think if this movie was released earlier, was released much sooner, it would feel much more impactful. As it is, we still have a very fun action movie. It's another Marvel movie. It's a high octane, exciting, funny action romp, but it could have been that little bit a step of relevance could have turned it from, like, say, Captain America First Avenger to Captain America the Winter Soldier. Like, it's just that much of a difference. It could have been so much more impactful than it was. But as it exists, it's a fun, harmless time at the movies.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of the issues I would change with it would be Ray Winstone's, portrayal as Dragoff. He just seemed a little bit almost too cartoony, I guess. He didn't feel real enough for me. I mean, I wasn't really impressed by that. It's like, ooh, we've got this villain. Ooh, we're supposed to like fear him, and there wasn't really anything, in my opinion, that made him want me to fear him in a movie. Just had that intimidation factor there, and
Well,
it just seemed bland, personally.
yeah, I think part of that is because he had so little screen time in the movie. He wasn't a big part of the movie at all. The big crux of the movie, the core of it, is Natasha and her relationship with her adoptive sister, with the Red Guardian, with her adopted mother, and their relationship to Taskmaster. I think when you stick in the pocket of that was very interesting. That was very engaging. That invested me a lot into Natasha's plight and what she was experiencing and feeling in this movie. Ray Winstone was just kind of the generic baddie, pulling the strings from the side, like, oh, the world has too many little girls. Let me turn them all into murderous spy assassins. Like it wasn't. He wasn't in there long enough to be a major drawback for me. He did what he needed to in the scene that he was in, and then he promptly got out, and we got back to Natasha's story.
Well, you're gonna find this a funny comparison, but did you ever watch the cartoon show Inspector Gadget growing up when you were a kid?
Oh yeah, I love Inspector Gadget.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dragoff reminds me of the main bad guy in that show, Dr. Claw. I mean, honestly, he reminded me a lot of Dr. Claw, just kind of that evil but not so evil, kind of a lukewarm kind of villain, and that's what it felt like. I mean,
I don't know if I'd say he's that cartoonish, and I also
he didn't have a cat in this movie like Dr. Claw did. I mean,
okay, the Godfather had a cat. That means nothing. Like, Nick Fury's eyes got scratched out by a cat. That changes nothing with the performance. I thought he was fine. I didn't think the movie suffered so much from his presence. I do think with one particular reveal, he was very effective.
Okay.
But yeah, huh?
We'll agree to disagree. Well, in addition to this movie, what do you think of the lawsuit between Scarlett Johansson and Disney?
I want to see what the contract says. I did see that. That was very interesting. I look at it through two different ways. Either Scarlett Johansson completely misread her contract and is throwing a fit for no reason, or the much more likely reason, Disney got greedy, decided we're going to release it, stream it, but behind Scarlett Johansson's back, and that's why she's suing. So it wouldn't be the first time Disney has pulled something shrewd like this. Like whenever they were, whenever Sony and Disney were renegotiating, keeping Spider-Man in the MCU, they're like, hey, we know we previously took like a 5% cut of his Marvel movies. That needs to be a 50% now, and we want total control over the character. Like, what do you think is gonna happen?
Well, I'm just saying, just be glad Scarlett Johansson is, killed off in the MCU, because after the lawsuit with Disney, I don't think the mouse would let her back into another MCU movie.
We're restoring balance to the universe, Natasha.
Oh, it's good. So, okay, it comes to that point where we need to give a rating for this movie on 1 to 10. What is your rating for Black Widow here?
I feel like you're going to turn red the minute I tell you. I'm giving this a solid 8, Andy. I do agree that the placement of it is very strange, and it does take away from a lot of the investment of the movie. Outside of that, the movie's well edited, it's well shot, it's well acted. The fight choreography is very, very fluid and fast paced. The story is very engaging. And I was surprised that despite knowing how Natasha's story ends, the message this movie is carrying and how it relates to women like Natasha and Yelena in this movie is very profound. And I do think that message is very important to learn and understand and take seriously.
All good points and very valid. You're probably going to hate my my number here. I give it a 6 out of 10.
That's not bad. That's mediocre.
Yeah, I'm not going to give it a 5 because it's an entertaining movie to watch. There's a lot of good in the movie. It's not a bad movie. It's not like an Iron Man 2 which is very painful to watch in my opinion.
Hey, you're talking about Ray Winstone being cartoonish. You need to rewatch Mickey Rourke and Iron Man 2, okay?
Yeah, or watch the Captain America movie from 1990, which is
oh God, we don't need to go there.
David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury in 1998.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, sir. Nope. Don't curse that on me.
You don't want to see the Hoff as Nick Fury there?
I want to see Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury say the F word one time. Just one time.
I don't know if the mouse will let him do that. So,
we have to appeal to little kids, Nick Fury. You can't use that word. I can't say what I want to say, but
okay. Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we are gonna wrap up this edition of the Critics Corner. So if you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, or movie suggestions, or just want to chat movies with us, shoot us an email, send us a message on Facebook, give us a like, or shoot a comment in the comment section below. So we will see you guys back next week here at the Critics Corner with something great and exciting for you to enjoy.
See y'all next week.